We didn't mention, if you have a snack or something that you wish to enjoy while we're going through class, as long as it's not distracting, that's fine. If you're gonna drink something, that's fine too. Just please try not to spill stuff. We don't wanna leave the room messier than when we came into it, right? Wanna leave things better. Also, language. What's appropriate language in a professional setting? Okay, I know it's okay. I promise it'll be okay. But let's make sure that we use, proper language. We want people to have passion and feel things and say what's on their mind. But we can do that without using inappropriate language, right? Okay, so just a couple of thoughts to keep in mind. Okay, we're going to jump into content now. So how many of y'all have heard the expression, managers manage programs, leaders lead people? Heard that before? Okay. So you haven't?
No? Not that phrase like that, no.
Okay, have you heard something similar?
Yeah.
That we manage program, we lead people. What does that really mean to us? So in this lesson, we're going to talk about that. We're going to talk about what that means. We're going to talk about some key leadership and management traits, leadership styles, followership, this whole entire block, all day, that's what we're talking about. Ethical leadership, developing airmen. These are the things that we're going to talk about in this first day to give you a foundation to go on. So when we say managers manage programs and leaders lead people, what does it mean to be a leader? When you think about a leader, does somebody come to mind for you? Everybody picture somebody in their mind of a leader. Okay, now I want you to think about the best leader you've ever served under, be it military, civilian, it doesn't matter. Best leader that you've ever served under. What are some of those traits that that individual had? Throw those out there. What are those traits? What was it about them that made them such a great leader?
Enthusiasm.
Confidence.
Okay. Confidence.
Confidence.
Enthusiasm.
The ability to make hard decisions. The ability to make the hard decision.
Ooh.
There's no spell check on here, so you
Disclaimer.
We do A through Z.
There you go.
I got it.
If you have an issue with the way a word is
I don't know what
spelled,
happened. The air weird
You
or
just-
something. It didn't work
you
out. I'm
just
still not
pull-
sure that's right. Just keep going.
just pull the letter out that you need to make the word right, okay? What were the other ones that you brought up?
Enthusiasm.
Enthusiasm,
I got that.
Decisive.
decisive.
I can use it in a sentence too.
And he writes really little. We can get a lot of
I'll get
words.
bigger. All right, I'll get bigger.
Okay, what else?
Knowledgeable. They know what to do.
Okay. Okay, you guys are going to need to pull a letter here.
Reliable.
Oh, jeez. Reliable. All right, keep giggling. You're coming up here and writing yourself. All right, who's giggling next?
Okay, great leaders. Think of those people you really love serving under. Dependable. I like that one. What else?
Communicate.
Okay. What kind of communicate?
Instead of reprimanding you, they're able to talk to you. Just conversation, getting you engaged.
Okay. I'm trying to think of how we could better word that.
Proactive.
Approachable. That might be exactly
Yeah,
what
that's
you're
better.
talking about. Approachable. Okay. What was the other thing?
I was thinking he was going in the direction of proactive. When you said they didn't recommend you communicate first, I thought you meant more proactive. A lot of people tend to after the fact.
Okay.
They take care of their people.
Okay.
Okay. Take care of their people.
Humble.
Yeah, that's.
Humble. I like it. So take care of their people. They're humble. What else?
Respectable. People look up to them.
Respectable? Okay, what's another, so when you say you can look up to them, what's another word that we use for
Role model.
role model? What else? What makes them somebody that you can look up to?
Honorable.
Honorable, okay? Okay, what else is along that same line?
Ethical?
Ethical? Ooh, that's kind of important, isn't it?
Man, you guys, all right, come on, come on. Just fix it. Just, what are you gonna do?
Ethical?
Oh, there you go.
Big, so you only get 2 for it.
Okay, what else?
She's doing great. I love this.
What else?
Honest.
Ooh, I
Honest.
like that.
Honesty and what go hand in hand?
Integrity.
Integrity, that's a biggie, isn't it? Nothing like working for the person you
Her handwriting is way better.
absolutely know you cannot trust, right?
Accessible.
Accessible?
That's open. I like that.
Okay. What else?
Open-minded.
Open-minded. Okay.
I think accessible got an I and an
Oh, giggle it up now. Giggle it up now.
Okay, what else? Those people that you really, really, really look up to, is there anything else that you can think of that maybe we don't have on there?
Courage.
Courage. Courage is a biggie, isn't it? So is it always easy to lead? It's not. Okay, anything else that you can think of?
understanding, and it's like you might get in a bad situation and like you're mad, but you're a good supervisor, a good leader, you know, can like put himself in your shoes, understand maybe where you're coming from in the situations, you know, it might not be as hard as you understand the situation.
Yeah.
So understanding and empathetic kind of go hand in hand. Non-judgmental. Okay, so empathic. Non-judgmental. Anything else we should include in this list?
Well, personally.
Personable. So that kind of goes hand in hand with
Probably approachable maybe.
approachable. Okay, what was the other one over here that we had that we didn't write down yet? There was another one. Non-judgmental. Yes, that was it. Okay. Anything else that you guys can think of?
Competent.
Competent. Okay. Yeah, that looks right. Okay. You're not doing spell check on all our stuff, are you?
No, I'm not.
Okay. Remember, anytime throughout the class, we always have an A through Z, so if you see a letter missing, just drop it in there wherever you need it. If it's driving you crazy. Okay? All right, so those are some key ones. Anything else important that you think we should add up there? So we know that integrity is critical, of course, right? We have to be able to, what about inspiring people? Is it important that leaders inspire? Okay, so we might add inspire to that list. They need to motivate us, right? So that kind of goes hand in hand with a couple of the other ones that you guys said. They're decisive, that's a biggie. We know that courage, it takes a ton of courage to lead. Those are some really, really important ones. So I think that's a pretty darn good list. Do you think for leaders? Okay, can we title this one leadership traits?
Yeah, I think we might rewrite this, but yeah.
No, it's good, it's good, it's okay. People don't mind seeing that you can't spell. Sorry, he'll make fun of me too, so. Okay, so we're gonna put that up. Pull that down. Let's put that
I
up.
don't know, hard to get it, staring at it.
All right, so we're gonna get you to come up here and spell for us again, okay? Okay, so we started this by talking about managers manage, leaders lead. So what about managers? Think about a good manager, somebody that you've worked for, that they're pretty good. So when I say good, if you get a good grade in school versus a great grade in school, what is a good grade? Yeah, a B, a C, a B, right? That's good. It's not great, it's not an A, it's good. It's good. So if we're thinking about good managers, if you've worked for somebody who's a good manager, you know somebody who's a good manager, what are the traits that that person has?
Delegates.
Okay?
What was it, resourceful?
Organized.
Knowledgeable in the field.
Okay, let's let her get caught up. Organized, delegate, what was the other one?
Knowledgeable in the field.
Knowledgeable,
Resourceful.
resourceful. Okay, what else? These are good managers. They're getting the job done. They're not just, you know, sitting around doing nothing. What else?
Proactive.
Proactive. Time management. You think that's important for a manager? Yeah, sure. Okay, what else? Good managers. These are good. These guys aren't the top, but they're good.
Approachable. Still gotta be approachable to some degree.
Okay.
Communication skills. I don't know how to say that one.
They need to be able to communicate what they're trying to get you to do. So they have to communicate effectively to get the job done. Something of that nature. So communicator. What else?
Decisive. Being a manager, you're always going to be the one making the decisions, so.
Okay. What else? Anything else?
The ability to network.
Network. Okay, what else should a good manager do?
Focuses on the big picture.
Okay, need to see the big picture. They're a big picture person. Okay, what else?
Multitask.
Okay, so they have to coordinate a lot of different pieces. So multitask, coordinate, we could probably put together. They have to make those pieces of the puzzle fit. Okay, what else?
Observant.
Observant. Okay, anything else that we should put up on there? How about planning? Where would planning go in this list? Would that fit with anything else? Do they?
Probably with organization.
Organized? So they need to be able to get a plan together, organize it, get that stuff out there, delegate to whoever they need to delegate. That's kind of what managers are doing. Okay? So what about a great manager?
They would know their people pretty well, especially when they're trying to delegate, you know, someone's really good at this and someone's really good at that. So knowing your people is important for a great manager.
So to take it up another level, they really have an in-depth knowledge of their people. No strengths and weaknesses and that sort of thing is what I hear you saying. Anybody else? What makes them a step ahead, a step ahead? They're the A. They're the A team. They're the Carolina Panthers. Just crushing the competition. I know that makes Sergeant Walker very happy. So they're the Carolina Panthers, and they just crushed everybody.
They got the backs of the people who work for
Okay, so they don't only know their people, they're taking care of their people.
them.
Okay, so those managers are getting it done.
Trendsetter?
Okay, trendsetter. That's one I haven't heard frequently. That's a good one.
All along that same line is get like, not really real good, but I was gonna say, but, you know, when you're just following the program, sometimes you like implement new procedures. I can't really think of the word I'm thinking of, but when you improve programs, you know, I can't think of the word.
So they're good at process improvement. So they're always looking for new innovative ways to do things. So maybe they're innovative.
Yeah, that's the word I was looking for.
Okay? Okay, anyone else? Differences?
Result oriented.
Ooh, result oriented, that's kind of really important, isn't it? Results oriented. Okay, what else?
I think to be a great manager, you also have to be a great leader. I think it goes hand in hand.
Okay, so some of those same traits that of a great leader.
About adaptable.
Ooh, I like it. Anything else we should have on that list? Okay, you feel pretty good about that list too? Okay, let's put that list up on the wall too. We could find a way.
I'll put it
with
next to
those-
each other.
Yeah, side by side. You want to move them down to that end?
Yep, I got it.
All right.
Beautiful, Madam Chair. Thank you.
Time we're finished, this room will be covered in paper. Okay, so we've got two pretty darn good lists, right? Those are, got a lot of stuff on these lists. Management traits versus leadership traits. So let's look at those and how are they the same and how are they different? So as you look at those, we want to just do a little comparing and contrasting of these traits. So what do you see there?
A leader empowers his people because empowers the people because you want the people under you to grow and to be like your replacement, pretty much. That's what a leader does. A leader wants to bring his people up. He also has knowledge of his job, but he also knows his greatest resource is his people.
Okay, greatest resource is the people. What else do you guys see?
I think that, you know, a good manager and a great manager seems that the great managers have more features of a leader and what they're just a leader. And that pretty much separates them from being good and the great category.
Okay,
My impression are that these are more subjective and these are more tangible. So your leader is going to have more of an image or charisma versus your manager. is
ooh,
gonna have
charisma.
He's going to be more charismatic and your manager is going to be, you know, have said traits.
Let's add charisma up there to the leadership.
Pretty comfortable, marking right on the wall. I want to be
Oh,
responsible.
there's the. I don't think it's
I'm
much.
gonna write
It
red
doesn't
light
look
there.
like it's, yeah, good bright light.
So which one would you say, which
To the
list do you think that's
leadership,
going?
charisma.
All right.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah.
Okay, what else as you look at these lists? The differences between the leaders and managers? Or the comparisons, what's the same?
Communication.
Okay, they all have to be pretty good at communicating. Okay,
Decision making, being approachable, people person. Leadership or manager, you have to know what it takes to get your people motivated and keep your mission accomplished.
There's a lot of personal traits, honorable ethic, honest integrity. That's a lot of courage, a lot of personal traits over there. Okay, you can do your job really good.
okay. So this one is a lot more about what's in here and what you bring out, and that one's a lot more about what you're doing, activities. Is that what I hear you saying?
Sure, sounds good.
Okay?
Well, I think like most people can be taught to be a manager, but not everybody can be a leader.
That goes back to that age-old question, are leaders born, or can you teach a leader to be a leader?
Well, it also kind of goes on the line, like in sports, sometimes they say that people that are great players aren't great coaches. You know, sometimes when an old player retires becomes a coach, you kind of like Jordan, for instance, you know. Yeah, he wasn't going to coach the Bobcats, they're terrible, you know, he's the greatest player of all time, you know. So sometimes you can.
Great points. Any others that we should be thinking of? We have up here on the leadership ones that they need to be knowledgeable. When you say knowledgeable, is that knowledgeable about how to do the tasks? Or is that kind of a general
I
knowledgeable?
think it's knowledgeable on how to do the tasks and also knowledgeable of your people and if they know how to do the tasks. I think a good leader is someone who shows their troops or people under them how to do stuff, not just tell them how to do it. I feel like it's showing them.
Okay.
If that makes sense.
They have to be able to know, like, okay, you're easier to learn and show this way, whereas you're different, so I have to change it for you to understand.
So a little bit of situational leadership needed to make things work where you are, as opposed to, this is how I learn, so I'm assuming you learn that same exact way. Yeah, kind of on that right path. Okay.
I was going to say, I mean, it's like, you know, a lot of tell me, show me, involve me. Being a leader, as a manager, you might just say, go out and get this done, or this is how you do it, now it's your turn. Whereas a leader, I'm going to tell you, I'm going to show you, I'm going to involve you, I'm going to ensure that you know what you're accomplishing, that you know that you're supposed to be doing.
Okay, so as you move up and you become the next Chief Eason, and you're out there in the field, and now you're running an entire section. So for our fuels folks, you know in LRS you have a chief. And in that chief, they may be a supply person, not a fuels person. How much do you expect that they should know fuels? As a leader, I'm up here, I'm at a chief level. How much knowledge, how much detailed knowledge do you think that I really need to have of that job?
They need to have all of it, though. You don't have any, but you need the chief needs to say, hey, I come from a different, let me go out here and work with you for a day or two, and go out and be with you. That would be a leader, not just sitting there and read this tech data, but actually go out with the troops and say, let me see how this is done. Let me be in your shoes. And that would be the difference between a leader and a manager.
Yeah. So a general overall knowledge, not to the level that Sergeant Johnson might know it, but just an idea and understanding of what that job entails and what happens there. So we're not expecting, whereas in this, in the managers, they're more tactical, right? A manager is more tactical. They're right in there in the weeds with you. They're your section chief, your superintendent, whatever. They know that job like the back of their hands. The folks working on the F-16s out at Carswell, those crew chiefs and avionics guys, some of them been out there for so many years, they can listen to the jet and know what's wrong with it. The chief that runs that may not be able to do that, but those guys can do that. So that's where we are in terms of tactical versus strategic. So it's a different level of thinking, right? So when you think about knowledge, I don't want to confuse people to think that to be a great leader, you have to have great in-depth knowledge of everything that happens out there, because you're just not going to be able to do that. The higher up you go, the less likely it is that you're going to know the day-to-day operations of how this person down here gets their job done. But you probably ought to at least have some idea of what they're doing, shouldn't you? Because how do you help them if you don't? So that's kind of where I wanted to make sure that we went with that, so that we understand that difference. As soon as we look at management traits and you think about time management and making decisions, have you worked for that person that just won't make a decision? Holy cow, how painful is that? I spent 20 years in the restaurant business, and I ran 6 restaurants for many, many years. And I hated when I had a manager that wouldn't make a decision. If I had to come in your restaurant and make a decision for you, what do I need you for? Just make it. I don't care if it's a bad decision. Just make a decision, because if you've at least made it, guess what I can do? I can come back behind you and I can say, now, how did that work? If it wasn't successful, what went wrong? What can we learn from this? If it went well, then now you've actually helped that person in their confidence. But if they make no decision whatsoever, what happens to the people that work for them?
They get discouraged.
Holy cow, are they discouraged? They suffer. Oh, it's miserable. Have you guys worked for that person? It's awful. It's absolutely awful. And big picture, if you're managing it and you don't have that big picture, what happens?
Mistakes are made.
Get lost, mistakes are made,
You get sidetracked.
you get sidetracked. And what we do for a living here in the Air Force, can we afford that? We better have that big picture going on, right? Okay? So let's talk about definitions, just so that you have this. Webster defines a leader as a person who leads, a guide, conductor, person directs a military force or unit, a person who has commanding authority or influence. That's a pretty good, well-known one, right, of a leader. Webster defines a manager as a person who conducts business or whose work or profession is management, person who directs a team or an athlete, student who in scholastic or collegiate sports supervisors equipment and records under the direction of a coach. Does that sound pretty much like where we went, right? Do you see the differences and the similarities there? Wikipedia, which is where we should always get, because they really have some pretty good definitions, would you not admit? Though you can't use it in a paper, can't use Wikipedia as a source for paper, but they're really pretty good.
My high school niece said they could use Wikipedia.
Seriously. Man. A manager is the person responsible for planning and directing the work of a group of individuals, monitoring their work, and taking corrective action when necessary. That sounds pretty much where we are, doesn't it? So Wikipedia must be a pretty darn good source after all.
Some of it.
Some of it, yes. You have to pick and choose wisely. So my next question is a good leader a good manager, or is a good manager automatically a good leader? Does one make the other one true? Why not?
I think a good leader makes a good manager, but not the other way.
Okay. Why?
Because if you're a good leader, then obviously you're already motivating people. You already know how to do the job. You already, because you're educating people, you're training people, you're motivating people. You know the goal. That's all that encompasses everything in leadership. Management is not doing all those things, but a leadership's doing all that. Plus, it's delegating. It's doing the knowledgeable, it's resourceful, it's proactive, it's approachable, good communication. All that stuff's in a leader, but you don't see all the same traits in the management.
Okay. Does everybody agree with that? Does anybody see it different?
I think it can be like that, but a manager can also be a good leader in certain circumstances.
Okay. Anybody else see it any different way? And it's okay, because we can all see things however we want to. We all see them through our experiences and everything that's happened to us in our lives. So however you see things, there's not right and wrong answers in there. So always feel free to say what you think.
Maybe like, you don't always have to be in a supervisory role to be a good leader, you know. You can have another airman, you know, who's like always trying to help everybody out and be there for everybody else and lead operations with everybody, but he may not be at the knowledge level as the chief or whatever, you know, but he's still like he's the guy that everybody goes to when they're doing the job and stuff, so, you know.
Yeah, rank does not always mean leader, right? Kind of to your point when you said, you know, what was, and I just lost it, right?
Are you born
Are you born or are they made? Some people can be that airman that just been, 6 months out of basic and tech school, but yet people look up to them and they listen to them, their peer group listens to them. So in amongst their peer group, are they a leader? Sure, a leader doesn't have to do with how old we are, how much rank we have, or anything else, right? There are people that just naturally seem to have that ability. So the age-old question is always, are you born that way or can you develop those skills? So that's going to be that age-old question, and we're all going to feel the way we do about it. But just think about it over time and how that works. So we've got the different lists. We've compared and contrasted. We've talked about it. So we understand kind of the differences between leaders and managers and all of that. So we're going to do a little activity.
We got one for each team, I think, is what we got.
The show will go on.
I don't know where the separation is here. Are you guys on this team?
Right.
I feel like you're colluding with me.
Well, I got the legs.
Colluding with the enemy?
The legs are right here in front of me. So it's kind of
He's just trying to be comfortable.
trying.
Sergeant D. All right, so the show must go on. This is what we are going to do now. So, before you guys start reading that, so kind of set that aside so that you're paying attention to what I'm going to tell you. So the reason that this all came about was that some of y'all are pretty young. Do you know who Joan London is? Some of you are no, some are yes. So for us older folks, we remember Joan London when she was a co-host on ABC Good Morning, whatever the title of the show was. Good Morning America. Okay, I used to watch it all the time. So Joan London is a TV personality. Okay, she's a host of a morning show. So she was out, and so here's the story. A Marine Corps officer led a 750-man infantry battalion up a snow-covered mountain near Bridgeport, California. Having just crested the 8,000-foot peak in freezing temperatures, he and the battalion sergeant major sat down to start a fire, share some coffee, and rest. Television host and journalist Joan London was on the mountain that day to film the battalion's training for her show Behind Closed Doors. During filming, she routinely participated in events to gain greater insight. That day was no exception. Attired in military-issued long johns, fleece sweater, parka, knit cap, gloves, and full boots, don't even know what that is, she sat down on a snowbank and questioned them about the unit and its training. As the conversation progressed, the topic turned to leadership. Talking in tandem, the Marine Corps officer and Sergeant Major explained the Marine Corps' leadership philosophy in theory and practice. They boasted proudly as she listened, politely. When they were done, they chided her in that she had probably not seen much leadership in the television industry. They suspected she had to settle for a lot of management masquerading as leadership. Setting her coffee aside, Joan set the record straight. Amidst the blowing snow, she recounted the most insightful story on the difference between managers and leaders they have ever heard. Okay, so now we are going to read this story. So we've got 4 people have it. Okay, go ahead and read the first paragraph.
Due to technical limitations.
Nice and loud, so everybody can hear.
Due to technical limitations in the late 1950s, television shows aired live without the ability to record or delay transmission. Production crews had to rapidly shift from one camera to another. On cue, one camera would be shut off, and at the same time, another would be turned on to film separate segments. To be successful, the effort had to be synchronized and seamless.
Okay, who's got the next one?
During one primetime show, the host was engaged in a spirited discussion with the young starlet while the production crew watched from the shadows. As the time for a commercial break neared, the production assistant signaled the host. Holding up his hands, palms outward, he began to count down. At 0, with both fists clenched, the production assistant directed the primary cameraman to cut his camera.
At the same moment, a second cameraman on an adjacent set turned on his camera to film 1-minute serial commercial. The production manager responsible for filming that day's show was pleased by the crew's performance. Perfected timing made priceless television. At his side, the director who led the entire program from its initial casting to closing credits smiled as well.
Okay, next.
Back at the host desk, the trainer approached and set up a French pool and a bowl on top of the wooden desk for a dog food commercial to begin in 30 seconds. Whether it was stage fright or a commentary of the food, the poodle chase that moment to defecate on the desk. Horrified, the host pushed back in his chair, discussed its make, the artist squealed, shot the remainder of the crew stopped in stunned silence.
As the production assistant announced, the cereal commercial would close and the dog food commercial would commence in 15 seconds. The production manager flew into action. He screamed for resources. "No problem. Quick, get paper, water, and a sponge," he yelled to the trainer, the makeup artist, the cameraman, the floor manager, the stage manager, the gaffer, and the grip to get the poop out of the show now.
The crew knew the goal, timeline, and required resources. They also knew the manager would monitor their performance and take corrective measures should they delay or error. With hands raised and fingers spread, the production assistant commenced the countdown to return to the show.
Fueled by urgency and oversight, the crew sprang to life. Racing across the set, they frantically sought the supplies and, more importantly, someone else to do the dirty work. At the count of 3, the production assistant hesitated slightly, yearning for direction to cut or continue. Steadfast amidst the chaos, the director stepped forward and calmly announced, "We'll be ready, roll camera." Reassured by his conviction, the count continued.
Swiftly stepping from the sideline and onto the stage, the director scooped the poop off the desk with his bare hands. Sliding back into the shadows, he cradled it in his hands just as the production assistant completed the countdown and cued the primary cameraman to roll.
With the sensitive matter removed, the host looked into Lindsay's both his well-rehearsed lines. The viewing audience remained unaware of the turmoil that transpired. Perfect timing had again produced priceless television.
Standing beside the director with the crew's junior member, a runner responsible for fetching supplies and doing odd jobs. Mouth ajar, the teen gawked in amazement, never expected to see a television executive scoop excrement. Turning to the runner, the director grinned, exposed his cupped hands, and in a low, fatherly tone explained, "This is leadership." With that, the director thanked the crew for their commitment and walked into the wings to clean up and attend to other duties. Dedicated man.
What was that? What did you say?
Dedicated man.
That was a dedicated man. Okay, so thinking about your lists. So I want you to think about the production manager. Okay, not the director, because that's who you're just talking about, right? The production manager. What traits did you see in the production manager?